What's up guys, this is Max Square and welcome back to part 2 of our mini-series in editing voiceovers. Now if you did miss the first part, I'll put a link down below or up here somewhere. And in that video, Oliver explained some post-production tips to fix your voiceover. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. But in this video, we're gonna look at a couple pre-production tips. So these are a couple things you can fix while you're actually recording so that you actually come out with a better recording before you start working on any post-production effects. So I'm gonna pass it over to Oliver and I'll see you back in a couple minutes.
Yo, Luke, thank you so much for having me back for round 2, talking about voiceovers, this time pre-production. How are you gonna record your voiceovers? So there's a bunch of technical details I could get into about the type of microphone, whether you use a dynamic or a condenser microphone or a lapel microphone or even a USB mic, as well as using a recorder out in the field for a VO, or using an audio interface into a computer, or you bypass all of that and you just use a USB mic. I'm not gonna really get into that today. There's a lot of technical details between those. I will show you 2 different mics. Right now I'm using a dynamic microphone called the Shure SM7B. That's plugged into a preamplifier called a Cloud Lifter into the Zoom H6. This is an $1,000 signal chain. So this is one of the best signal chains you can get at home for voiceover. So I'm not gonna use this the whole time. We're gonna try a couple other tests as well with different types of mics, including a condenser that's more affordable and an iPhone. Instead of talking about that gear though, I wanna focus on 3 things you can do to make your voiceover sound better that have nothing to do with the gear you use. First, and most importantly, acoustic treatment. Right now, I'm sitting in a room that is very live. What that means is there's hard surfaces on the floor, hard walls, brick wall, a lot of drywall, and a tin ceiling above me, which means that not a lot of my voice is being sucked up into anything. It's all reflecting off the walls, the ceiling, and the floor, and getting right back into the microphone. It's not as apparent with the 7B because the way dynamic microphones work, but I'm gonna switch over to the Blue Bluebird. And with this microphone, you'll notice a difference in sound right away. It's brighter, it has less bottom end to it, and it's gonna pick up more of the echoes around the room because it's a sensitive condenser microphone. Very similar to a shotgun mic, which we don't have here today because those aren't really necessary in recording voiceovers. So acoustic treatment is what we're talking about right now. This room is not acoustically treated at all. So we're going to switch now. What if we transition into a room like this? The floor is covered in carpet. It's a drop ceiling with acoustic tiles. I have sound blankets hanging behind me, hanging in front of me, and I have curtains covering the drywall on both sides. Effectively, this is a sound booth. There is no reflection in here the way it was happening out there. So now switching to the Blue Bluebird, which is that condenser microphone we just heard out there. What does it sound like now in here when everything is acoustically treated? There are blankets and curtains and everything hung up all over the place, sucking up any reflection that would come back and get into the mic capsule, causing you problems for your VO. I could turn sideways, hold this 9 to 12 inches away from my mouth, and record a really solid voiceover. Now listen to this when I apply the production techniques we talked about last time, right now, talking into this microphone with the effects we applied in part 1 of this series in a treated room with a good distance, hopefully with not a lot of outside noise, although we know there's construction happening today. This is pretty darn good sounding. This microphone costs $300. The recorder costs $400. Together, that's $700 for those that aren't good at math. Still an expensive signal chain, so let's cheapen this up a little bit. You already have an iPhone, you've already got an Android. What does that sound like in a room like this? So here we are in a really well-treated room. Really no noise at all here, no reflection. Recording into the iPhone that I already possess, which in my case is the iPhone 10. This is what it sounds like. If I wanted to record a voiceover and apply the techniques that we talked about in part 1, this is what that would sound like, talking into an iPhone 10, making a voiceover when you're just starting out, or maybe producing somebody to put in your project and bring it to the front of your mix. It's possible. And it's doable on an iPhone today. I don't have an Android, and if I did, I would record into that and show you what that sounds like, but this is just what we're working with. So if you have no mics and you have no budget for a high-quality signal chain, hang up blankets all around you. Go into a closet. Talk about 9 to 12 inches away from your iPhone. Make sure your plosives, the air coming out of your mouth isn't going to hit the microphone. Hold it down a little bit. Kind of like how I'm holding it right here. You got yourself a starter VO setup for nothing. You already have blankets and clothes, don't you? If you don't, you probably don't have an iPhone either, and you're probably not in video production. So you get the idea. why acoustic treatment is so important. The second thing I want to talk about is mic distance. How close do you record your voiceover into a mic? The tendency for me, and I know a lot of people, is to get as close as possible when recording a voiceover. This is problematic for two reasons. One, you get the proximity effect. The proximity effect is going to mean that your voice is going to sound a lot more bassy and boomy the closer you are to the actual mic capsule. So when I get right up on the SM7B, it's going to sound really bassy and really nasty. Switching back over to the Bluebird, same thing here. The closer I get, the nastier it sounds and the more boomy my voice is. The other big issue when you get too close to the mic is actual mouth sounds. So the closer I get, you can start to hear kind of that like disgusting tongue and saliva sound inside your mouth. What takes care of that is just simply moving away from the microphone. Let's all avoid that. The final pointer I would give for recording good voiceovers is outside noise. Where are you in your house? Are you right next to a busy street? Can you get to a closet or a interior bedroom or even a basement where you minimize the sound of what's going on outside? A huge killer of a good voiceover is a big old truck driving by or getting some of that nasty low frequency sounds from vehicles moving just in the area. So if you can do those three things well, you could even record your voice on a iPhone. Just like in the video department, if you have the best red camera ever and really terrible light versus having amazing perfect light and just an iPhone, the iPhone's gonna win out because it's all about the light. Same goes with microphones. You can have the best microphone setup ever, like this $1,000 signal chain. In a really live room, it's not gonna sound good for voiceover. But if you're in a really good room, you could record it on an iPhone and get away with a lot more. Hopefully that helps. Get out, record and mix good voiceovers. Don't forget to check out part 1 if you haven't already on mixing and post-producing a voiceover. Thanks again, Luke. Back to you.
So guys, I hope that was helpful to you. I just want to give you one more side-by-side example of how some of those techniques can really help you. This room, for example, has a lot of glass. There's actually an entire wall of glass to my right over here. And before I added the treatment, it sounded like this. For example, with those curtains in my room open, it sounds a lot more roomy. You're getting a lot of other background noise in those reflections. But with them closed, you can see that a lot of that background noise is eliminated and it sounds a lot cleaner. So all I did was throw up 3 or 4 acoustic treatment curtains. They're about 30, 40 bucks each. I did get them on sale, but I'll put a link down below where you can check out that exact setup. But hopefully you can see how just simple things like that can really go a long way. And so like Oliver said, if you're thinking about getting a really expensive mic, it'd probably be better to invest that money into acoustic treatment and then just using your iPhone to record, because that is probably gonna sound a lot better. But anyway guys, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to like it and subscribe, but also be sure to check out Oliver's channel, link down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.